All right, let's get right into it. We're about to break down a fundamental law of power, one that quietly governs every single high-stakes deal, whether it's in a boardroom or a hostage crisis. And it starts with a question that seems to go against everything we're taught. Why is it that the more you want something, the less power you actually have to get it?
Now, this isn't just some cynical saying, it's a diagnostic tool. This one sentence is really the key to our entire analysis today. Because in the world of high-stakes negotiation, what you feel is passionate commitment, while the other side reads it as something completely different. They see it as leverage they can use against you.
So, the first signal we have to learn to decode is this. In any negotiation, your desire is not your strength. It's a liability. When you openly show your need, your urgency, your emotional investment in one specific outcome, you're basically broadcasting a weakness. You're telling the other side exactly where they can apply pressure.
And that leads you straight into what's called the predictability trap. See, when you desperately need a deal to close, your playbook becomes completely transparent. Why? Because the fear of loss makes us act on instinct. The other side knows you're going to pick up the phone on the first ring. They know you'll be the one to break an uncomfortable silence. And they know that if they threaten to walk, your gut reaction is to give something up just to keep the conversation going. You become predictable, and predictability is the absolute enemy of leverage.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. This signal, it isn't just for business deals. When you start looking, you see the exact same pattern, this detachment advantage playing out in completely different, high-stakes environments. It's a universal principle.
Let's start in the most extreme theater there is, a hostage negotiation. We're talking literal life and death stakes here, and emotional control isn't just a nice-to-have. It is the entire game. You see, elite FBI operators are absolute masters of avoiding what they call emotional contagion. They know that if their own anxiety, their own desperate need for a good outcome seeps into the conversation, it's only going to make a volatile person even more volatile. So by projecting total calm, total control, they aren't just managing their own emotions, they are actively dominating the emotional landscape of the entire situation. Their detachment becomes a weapon.
Okay, now let's jump from that crisis zone right into a venture capital conference room. The language is different, the stakes are financial, but the underlying physics of power, they're identical. A founder pitching their company is, in a very real way, negotiating for survival.
And here's the crucial thing to understand. An investor's real power doesn't actually come from how much money they have, it comes from their BATNA, their best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Put simply, it's how good their plan B is. For a venture capitalist, their BATNA is a whole portfolio of other amazing companies they could fund instead. They don't need your specific deal to work out. And that lack of need is exactly what gives them the power to be patient, to dictate terms, and to walk away without losing a wink of sleep. Their true power isn't their capital, it's their alternatives.
So we've broken down the signal, and we've seen the pattern across different fields. Now let's get into the game itself. This is where we can see how this all plays out, move for move, when pressure goes head-to-head with patience at the table.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly, right? The two mindsets side by side. Look at the needy negotiator on the left. They jump in to fill every silence because it feels awkward. They see the clock ticking as an enemy that's burning away their leverage, and their whole goal is just get the deal closed. Now look at the detached negotiator on the right. They use silence strategically to make the other person uncomfortable. They see time as an asset, knowing it wears down the more desperate side. And their focus isn't just on closing, it's on getting the right outcome. They're playing a completely different game.
And you have to understand, misreading this signal isn't a minor mistake. It comes with a heavy, predictable cost. When you negotiate from a position of need, you are guaranteed to lose. And this is the price you end up paying. It's a slippery slope. First, you get squeezed on the price and the terms because they can smell your flexibility. Then, you start accepting conditions that aren't really fair, not because you agree with them, but because you're just in a rush to get it done. You find yourself giving up little things, again and again, just to save the deal. And before you even realize what's happened, you've handed them total control over the pace, the terms, and the final outcome.
And let's be crystal clear on this point. This isn't about not knowing the right tactics or clever lines. This is a failure of perception. It's about not seeing the invisible currents of leverage and need that are really deciding the outcome long before anyone signs on the dotted line.
So if neediness is the poison, what's the antidote? How do the absolute best operators think about this stuff? Well, their edge isn't some secret list of tricks. It's a completely different way of building power before they even walk into the room.
It all starts by asking this very question. They know, deep down, that their power doesn't come from a brilliant argument or their charisma or how badly they want to win. It comes from one place, and one place only, the strength of their alternatives.
And this is the process. It's not magic, it's discipline. First, you don't just have a vague plan B. You sit down and you identify every single viable alternative you have. Second, you actively work to make those alternatives better. You develop them, make them more real, more attractive. This is real work, not just a thought exercise. And then, step 3, internalize. This is the most important one. You have to genuinely believe in your gut that walking away from the table isn't failure, it's one of your most powerful strategic moves.
So to wrap this all up, I'm going to leave you with 3 diagnostic questions. I want you to take these and apply them to your next negotiation, and be honest with yourself. This is how you go from just watching the game to actually changing how you play it. First question, are you negotiating from need? Really think about it. Is there a quiet desperation to just get this done? Are you more afraid of hearing no than you are of getting a bad yes?
Second, what would you do specifically tomorrow morning if this deal just vanished? If the answer is, I have no idea, or I'd panic, then you've just located the precise source of the other side's power over you. And finally, this is the most powerful question of all. Forget tactics for a second. Just ask yourself this. How would your behavior change, your tone of voice, your timing, your willingness to hold your ground, if you truly, fundamentally, did not need to get their yes? The answer to that question, that is the beginning of real power.